knowing what's going to happen next. To know and to remind yourself that God is omniscient and that God has a plan and he has a schedule and he has a sequence and he has a structure gives comfort, whether he shares it with me or not. For God often knows things that he chooses not to share. Like parents don't always share with their children, and children don't always tell their parents. It is possible to have information and not espouse the information to you, but the Lord knows when. It's like children going on a ride, and they're in the back seat of the car, and they keep saying to you, "Are we there yet?" Yet they are comfortable to ride on the car in the uncertainty of not knowing where they are in the journey. They are confident because they know that their father or their mother has the wheel. Are we there yet? I don't know whether we're there yet. I don't know whether we're at the end of suffering. I don't know whether we're at the end of sacrifice. I don't know whether we're coming to harvest or not. Are we there yet? But I do know who holds the wheel. And as long as I know who holds the wheel, I'm not worried about where I am in the journey, because I know before we got in the car, you had a plan, you had a map, you had a strategy, you had a timing, and I'm going to wait on you. Jesus at one point tells his disciples, he says, "Henceforth I call you no longer servants, but friends, for a servant knoweth not what his master doeth." It is possible to serve God and not know when. It is possible to be your parents' child and not know, are we there yet? It is possible to be going through a process of healing and know it's coming but don't know when. But then when is also a promise, because it lets me know that God has a when. That whatever I'm going through, I will not always go through it, that sooner or later God has set a date. And God, you didn't hear, I don't think you heard the power of what I said. God has a when. He's not making this up as he goes. He's not just contemplating. He's not just figuring out. He's not just responding to your moods, your attitudes, and the attacks of the enemy and the things your friends say about you. God is not making it up as he goes. You are not at the mercy of your detractors, your critics, your haters. You are only at the mercy of the timing of God. And God knows when. From the book of Job, the oldest book of the Bible, Job says to us, "The Lord knows the way that I take, and when he has tried me, I shall come forth as pure gold." I might not come forth today. I might not come forth tomorrow. I may not even come forth next week or next month. But when he has tried me, I shall, not I might, not I hope, not I wish, I shall come forth as pure gold. I know how the story ends. I will not burn in the purification of the fires that separate the dross from me forever. I just don't know how long I have to be in the fire to get all the things out of me for me to be pure gold. But I know when it's over, I shall come forth as pure gold, and every contaminant that would contaminate my worth of value will have burned off in the process, but not me. Gold don't burn, baby. Dross burns. Gold doesn't burn. It may melt. It may become softened, but it will never burn because it's gold. So if God allows me, Job says, to put me in the fire for a while, he's only trying to burn off those things that would weaken my value, and I shall come forth as pure gold. Now, I know Job is not the first book in the chronological order of your Bible, but it is the oldest book in the Bible. And from the book of Job to the last writings in the book of Revelations, there's a consistency of understanding. Take a minute and look at Revelations 2, 8 through 11. And the Bible says, "And the angel of the church in Smyrna, unto the angel of the church at Smyrna write these things, saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty. But thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Oh, I'm going to say that again. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation. This is what I love. Ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death. It's the 10 days that gets me happy. Maybe the 10 days didn't get you happy, but the 10 days gets me happy. It's good to know that before I get in it, God has already given me a schedule to come out. Somebody, I don't know who I'm talking to, but you're on your 9th day. God is speaking to us. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast you into prison, but you're going to be all right. You shall be tried, but you're going to survive. You're going to have tribulation, but I put it on a calendar. I got a timer on it. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. So from the first book of the Bible to the last book of the Bible, we see the same thing being said. The final words in Revelations declare, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the church. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. This is important for us to understand that from the very beginning to the last, God has a watch. God has a watch and a timer is on it, and it's already set. Solomon declares in Ecclesiastes, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. If nothing is running chaotically, everything is on schedule. Everything is on schedule. I said nothing is chaotic. Everything is on schedule. You ought to write that down. Everything is on schedule. It's right. I'm right where I'm supposed to be, when I'm supposed to be, going through what I'm supposed to go through at the time I'm supposed to go through it. Because God has a time and a season for every purpose under heaven. It's not about, I want to know my purpose, Pastor. I don't know my purpose. Please pray for me that the Lord will show you your purpose. Don't worry about your purpose. Worry about your season. Because when you get in your season, your purpose will be clear. And wherever there is purpose, there's going to be timing. And wherever there's a timing, there will always be a win. Somebody just type win. God knows when. God knows when. God knows how. God knows what. When the Lord turned again our captivity. When we left off last week, we were weeping. We had hung our harps by the willow trees, and we have wept when we remembered Zion. And we learned how to live off of memories. We were sustainable because we could remember days that were not this tough. I was talking to my wife the other day, and I told her, I said, just late at night, I said, I'm at camp running water. She said, what are you talking about? I said, I'm at camp running water. She said, what do you mean? I said, I'm 7 years old. I'm at camp running water. And you think I'm here in Dallas, but I'm at camp running water because I was thinking about where I came from. I know how to live off of memories. And all they had is they were drugged, shackled, and chained, bleeding and ostracized and carried down from sweet Jerusalem. Oh, Jerusalem, the city of Salem, peace. They had left the city of peace and gone into the plague of adversity. And not only did they leave, they did not leave up under their own auspices or on their own accord, but they were drugged in chains by the Babylonians into captivity. Last glances looking back, they promised Jerusalem, if I forget thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. There ought to be some things that you refuse to forget. And when they came down to near the river of Euphrates, and there they saw the willow trees, and they hung their harps on the willow trees, and they wept. Jesus wept. All of us weep. There are times you go through a season of mourning, a season of struggle. To be transparent, I've gone through seasons of weeping. Not a few minutes or an hour, seasons of weeping. Seasons of weeping. I can remember coming into the hospital room with my wife, going up on the elevator to see her mother who was in the hospital, and her mother expired. And with my own two hands, I closed mother's eyes. And I watched my wife turn into a ghost, and the room was filled with agony. And as our hearts were racked with pain, we could not believe that somebody so strong, so vibrant, so tough, so full of life, so powerful. My mother-in-law was the kind of woman, you either liked her or you didn't, and she didn't care which one you chose. How could she be gone? It was the first time that death had circled in recent years so close and touched somebody that was a part of our lives. And my wife was devastated. And you know, if you know anything about losing anybody close to you, that's not the kind of thing you shake off in a week or a month. You don't shake that off in 3 months. That devastation continued and continued and continued, and I had to preach with it, and we had to go to church with it, and we had cameras in our face with it. And just when it was starting to ease up a little bit, my mother took sick. And got worse and worse and worse. And died with us holding on to her. Gasped her last breath. She was gone. And I wondered, how in the world could I be anointed and used of you and seeing people heal in my services and you not heal my mother? I remember preaching in this very church, going to the hospital wet and laying my body on top of hers and praying for her. And she still died. My best friend in the world. We were closer than two peas in a tiny pod. She died. Before I could get over my mother-in-law, my mother died. And then my daughter came in the room and told me she was pregnant. And it was a season of weeping. Have you ever gone through a season of weeping? That before you could get out of this, here comes something else, and your heart is overwhelmed, and you smile in front of people as best you can, but you go home. Please, please let me go home so I can go back to being real, because I'm tired of faking the smile. And I only told you I was doing okay because I knew it wasn't nothing you could do about it anyway. And let me go back to my weeping. And we wept. When we left off last week, the children of Israel were in a season of weeping and bleeding and suffering. And they'd hung their harps by the willow trees, and they wept. They asked them to sing. How can you sing the Lord's song in a strange land? And people honestly want you to perform like you haven't been through what you've been through. But there is a degree of pain that comes so strong that you have to shut down everything. There is some discomforts you can still function through, but there is a level of sorrow that is so grotesque and so obvious and so profound and so demonstrative that it will shut you down. How can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? They hung their harps by the willow trees, and all we could hear was nothing but weeping. There is a cry that engulfs the soul, that wounds the spirit, that takes you to a place where you wonder, will I ever? Y'all don't know what I'm talking about. I wish I could talk to somebody who was real with me, because I get sick of church folks sometimes. Sometimes they'll catch you in your grief and in your season of pain, and they're in their season of progress, and they'll look at a child, if you just believe God, everything will be all right. If you just walk in faith